Coming up on That's a Great Point. That is enough to release that battle, to release that striving, that straining, that fighting that happens within us. And now all of a sudden we can just let it go and start to move towards what we actually want rather than fighting a battle that just doesn't need to be even fought.
Yeah, I don't think healing is so your words are saboteur and inner adolescent, and I see that. I do that similar things, have people go into meditation and
Mhm.
make friends, basically make peace. But I don't
Yes.
think healing is killing those bits of ourselves that we don't love. I think healing is loving all of us, and
Yes.
that's it.
Yes. That's exactly what
Absolutely.
I'm trying to say.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Hey there. Today's conversation is based around shifting careers. How sometimes we stay at a job that we hate that sucks the life out of us just a little bit too long because the enemy we know isn't as scary as the enemy we don't. We talk about taking authority over our own lives and how self-trust helps us to feel safe in almost any environment. We talk about performance anxiety and how taking things too seriously can cause us to shut down and shut off, and how going at it with a lighter attitude can help us perform better. If you find our information educational and entertaining, please like and subscribe. It helps others find us more easily. Thanks for playing along. Enjoy. Welcome to That's a Great Point, the attitude adjustment for your soul, where co-hosts Alina Doran, Michelle Albers, and Lee Smart discuss deep topics around a life well lived. Let's start the show.
Just gonna make Where were we?
You were talking about how to make the mucus flow.
Wow. Okay. Yes, I'm enjoying my coffee. Coffee has cashew milk, and what I appreciate about it is it only has two ingredients: cashews and water, and that is simple. Michelle, what's in your mug?
Tea. Not very good tea either. I don't know what kind. I just found a bag of tea bags that I had forgotten about.
Oh,
And I'm not, it needs something.
mm.
I
Speaking
mean,
of,
it's fine, but it's warm and that's what I want right now. So I don't care.
that's right. Speaking of warm tea bags, Lee, what's in your mug?
Right now it's a protein drink. So we got off of our meeting with Christina. I realized I was kind of cranky and wasn't able to focus very well. And I was trying to work and I was having a hard time stepping into it. I was like, you know what? I have a full hour and a half before we sit down and do this. Let me go change my state, change my mood. So I went out and I got a good workout in and I left sweat all out there and I came in and took a shower and I feel much better and I feel present and focused and ready to make sex jokes with you.
That's what it takes, right? It takes an hour and a half of working out, showering, preparing a protein shake. I joke. And that's also so relatable and so inaccessible to people if because they don't have that awareness of what is available to you to flip your state of mind. Is that our topic for the day?
I like it because last week I had a client call and she came to me with, okay, I need to determine my systems and I need to make sure that I get everything lined out and I have to make sure this is order or this is in order and this is order and then blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay, say you get all that perfect. What happens then? Well, I get to go out and walk in nature and take pictures uh and and even as she started to say it, her whole everything went from I gotta to like just it. She went from like strained and stressed and low energy, looked like the life had been sucked out of her, to
Mm,
within an instant she had just talking about it brought her more energy, and
mhm.
she went like snapped her out of it completely. I said, "Okay, you up for trying something new?" She said, sure. That's all right. How about you go do that stuff that lights you up, that gives you that energy first, then you come work on your projects. And immediately she knew, like, whoa, what a great idea.
I love it.
Because it reminds me of a quote that I love to death. It's the right conversation in the wrong mood is the wrong conversation. And that applies to work too. Anything that we do, if it's tainted by a bad mood, it's going to be done poorly. If it's tainted by low energy, it's going to be done poorly. So no matter what you do, it almost doesn't even really matter. So if you go in and take care of your state first and you come in energized and lit up and having fun, imagine how much different everything goes from that point forward.
Mhm. Yeah, that's that quality of the grind, right? We could do the same thing with two different energies. One is with the this is difficult energy, like that pushing a boulder uphill energy, like struggling and straining.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can like waltz in there with like an easy button and press it and look, it's rolling. This is fun. It's a boulder. Totally different energy.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think's most
Or,
which energy is most likely to make an athlete collapse under pressure? You ever heard of choking before? We take that same concept and we apply it to business. It's like, oh, wait, you sat down behind your computer and you can't get anything done? You're
right.
choking because you've put all this pressure on yourself.
Yeah, that reminds me of a client session I had today of I need, right? When the sentence starts with I need to, like my curiosity goes up like, oh, what's this? What's this need? It's like, I need to figure out what I'm going to do with my career. I need to figure out a plan. I need to know my next move. Need. It's like a stuckness in the need. Yeah.
That kind of need is like need with attachment. Like there's a really strong attachment
Oh,
to where that takes you versus like I need like something for myself and to honor and own that. Like those are two very different things.
amen, young lady. It's such a different energy of I choose, I get to.
Yeah.
Need often has this component of external pressure, right?
Well,
Like,
and if you
I'm
don't
told
get
I
it,
need, right?
yeah.
So I should know that I need. So I am told I need. So, like we spent a lot of that session exploring who else is in the room. There were a bunch of characters in the room, and that was really interesting, right? Like there were mean girls. There was a cast of mean girls and mean boys in the room. Where like you cannot sit at my lunchroom table, and it's like that. It unlocks this like fear of traveling from high school to high school. Like you run out of all lunchroom tables. That's where we were. Like so many rejections that you've tried every single table in this high school. You're going to go and check out another high school, and they're also mean boys and girls. So we're kind of going through what are the scariest things that can happen with those characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, take me to the end. Take me to the worst. You're just rejected and you're just driving around high school to high school.
Mm-hmm.
That's one set of characters. And then there's like the stepmother from Cinderella. And that's like this really nasty imposter. That's like all your success that you've had. And this person had so much success, like incredible achievements. It's like all the success is pure luck. You're just lucky. You're lucky. This isn't you. This is timing. This is things outside of you. You're not really much. Which is wild. Because if you look at this person's list of achievements, it's like this rarefied thin air of what that person's been able to get done. And yet, here they are in this total paralysis of, like, what if I make the wrong move? What if I'm missing out? Like this constant FOMO. Oh.
Yep. So we all have slightly different methods how we work with this. That might be fun to go into. What do you call it, and what do you do to deal with it when it shows up?
Oh, I like that question. I would say, because I was just talking about the cast of characters, that's one approach. I can't tell you that I have just one or two. Like it's sort of intuitive in what's called for. If it isn't a one-on-one session, it's what's called for. Oftentimes, if I hear a voice and it's a clear voice.
I think you just scared all the type A types to death just now.
What I
You
do.
don't have a clear-cut process? You go in the
I
flow?
know. I know. I don't just have like, this is my method and this is the machine. You will be processed through said machine. No, it's not like, let's see how this thing goes. So I see a lot of attachment and a lot of gripping, like white knuckled holding on. And like, I can't move. I can't, that intensity of attachment. I get curious about a number of things. If I hear voices, I get curious about whose voices they are. And I enjoy giving them, playing with them, right? Like externalizing them, right? They're not part of that client. They are with that client. And that client then has a little more choice about what they want to do with it. Like, right, that voice that says you can't, you're just lucky. This is a fluke. Your 25-year career of wild success is just a pure fluke. That's what I ended up telling the client. It's like, I want you to know none of that was you. It's just quarter of a century of flukes, like nonstop, back to back. That's one, is getting like playing with the characters and like role playing. And everyone, some folks really get into it. We really get into the voices and the effects. We get out of our chairs and we'll like act it out. And then it becomes distant from us. So that's what I like to see, is like, once we can laugh about it, or once we can reflect on it as it lives outside of us, we could start to have a certain little more control and decide what we want to do with it. Yeah, that's one.
So you just reminded me of we were in that group call earlier today, you and I, and
Yeah.
that one girl was stressing about her exam,
Yes.
and it was like everybody else was like, "Oh, it's gonna be okay. You'll get it figured out," and wanting to give her helpful tips. And I come in and say, "Well, guess what? If you get it wrong, it's all
over.
gonna fall
I love
apart,
it.
and you're probably gonna die."
It was awesome. I love that you said that. When you said that, Lee, you changed the energy in the room,
I know.
right? You're like, I know. The whole room shifted when you said it, because everyone else was indulging the seriousness of like the kind of going along with, oh, this is hard. You're right. This is scary. You're right. And you kind of went, yeah, like it's done. Just
It's all,
take
hey,
it
you
out.
fail that test, it's all over. Like that's the end of you.
Yeah, like you
There's
failed at
no
life.
coming back from this.
Please understand, this is not just a test. This is your entire life. The stakes are much higher than you realize. You're done. You're done. You're done, girl. You're done. Yeah. And if we can laugh about it, right? That's a perfect illustration. You did.
Mhm.
That once we can laugh about it, that energy shifts. Michelle, I know you have a giant toolkit of all the goodies. What's like one that comes top of mind that you use to as a technique?
Yeah, and you need to quit talking so much because you're bothering me.
Well, if you two would just shut up for a hot second, maybe I could get a word in edgewise. It's funny because as you're talking, I have like real world examples that are like at the forefront right now with several people in my world, in my clients, personal, all of it. So I'm trying to navigate it in a way that doesn't get too personal, because I want to honor the confidentiality and all that kind of stuff. But lately I'm finding that like people that are in it, in a hard space, are redirecting to what they're attaching to, and the thing that they're attaching to is just a distraction. And I'm calling them out on it, and they don't super love it, but they do super love it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Where they're like, God damn it, you just called me out on the fact that I'm just trying to take my pain away temporarily. And it's like, well, that's okay. You get to do that. You get to take a pause. And what if we just do that in a more accurate way? That isn't a distraction, that you're telling yourself that you desperately need this answer from this human. And that answer, we both know, isn't going to take you anywhere good. It's literally a way for you to keep yourself to a bigger spiral. Well, without divulging any of the personally identifiable details, would you be able to share a similar example of a fictional client and what your suggestion was? Yeah, so something happened that, like, say something happens that takes something away from you, and it was something that you really enjoyed, or maybe you even didn't really enjoy it, but it brought you safety and security and comfort. So let's just say, I'm going to make a career shift, or I'm thinking about making a career shift, but I'm not really sure if I want to do that. And then something comes and lands in front of me. And then it's like, well, not only am I making a career shift, but like, I don't even have a choice anymore. Like I'm being forced out of one, but then have an opportunity in front of me for another. But instead of looking at the opportunity me for another, I'm hung up on the, well, why did this one end? Because I wanted to be the one to choose to end it. I didn't want it to be ended for me. And then like super hyper focused on the why it ended and the reasoning behind that, instead of going inward and looking at what it is. Like, it's about you. Like, getting the answers of why it ended isn't going to take you anywhere good. Usually you can go within and figure out how you changed things, right? How you did things and could show up better. Like, I'm not talking about that. I think us taking accountability for how we show up makes sense. But if the powers that be eliminate your position, knowing why they eliminated your position is not going to make you feel better. It just, I mean, especially in this, you know, like if I'm thinking about this scenario and another one, different, but same. They really want to know an answer to something that they know isn't going to be, it's not going to make them feel better. It's not a unicorn and rainbows type of answer. The powers that be, whether that be the healthcare system or your career, don't care. Like, that's the head of the snake has a very different goal and mission and vision than you do in your role. And so it's like, how do you advocate for yourself in your career, in your health, in like all these, because these are big, like root chakra foundational things, to use my language. This is how you feel safe in the world, because you have money and you have health, like money and health, you have resources that mean you can show up in the world in a positive way that, brings you and others joy. Like, if we just want to simplify and cut to the chase. But if you're hyper focused on the thing that's going to take you into this swirl, because that's an old pattern. Like, it's my job to take you out of going to that dark place. Not to say we can't revisit it at some point, but let's do it in a way that actually like has a purpose other than to take you to the dark, soggy, alone place, which I truly believe we all need at some time. So I'm not like dissing on like, sometimes we just need to like get mad, scream, shout, rage, whatever you got to do. And the awareness, mindfulness, and like how you inquire about it for yourself can either be an empowering choice or a disempowering choice. And so many people's pattern is to pick the one that sucks them down into the suck.
Remember, I had a client one time that she, in digging and digging and digging, the phrase literally came out of her mouth, I hope I can just get sick so I don't have to show up to work.
Yeah.
Like,
we go that far.
Yeah, exactly. It's I am so afraid to take authority of my own life that I'm gonna look for what is an accepted excuse.
Yeah.
That way I don't have to do the things that sucking the ever-loving life out of me.
And I do think those forced changes, right? Like, I'm thinking health and career, because those are two big ones that we get forced a lot. Like, you don't have a choice. You just got fired, just like blatant answer. You don't have a choice. You just got diagnosed with a big, huge, scary health thing. Like, you have choices in both of those instances. But as far as like, can you undo what just happened? That's going to take some time. You can't just snap your fingers and be like, just kidding, I'm not sick. Just kidding, I get my job back. Like, it doesn't work that way. And we get so clung to not wanting it to change, even if you absolutely were doing nothing for your health to start with. And if you absolutely hated the job you were in, that comfort of the discomfort was still way more positive than having it just be the rug swept out from underneath you. And now you're like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, the enemy you know is far less scary than the enemy you don't.
Yeah.
And the common thread that I'm hearing here among the three of us, with the different approaches and perspective and client examples, is this desire to, or an instinct to cling to the past, to cling to what we know, to cling to what we think is safe, just because we've been there, and to stay there, instead of allow ourselves to really be present in the moment. And so
Yeah.
if it is to revisit of how one lost their job, we could revisit it as like, we're on a treadmill, we're sort of stuck, we're moving, but we're not going anywhere. We're expending energy, but we haven't left the room. Or we can take a look at it and look for the opportunities and the silver linings in order to serve today.
Yeah.
And moving forward, right? So it's not to say don't revisit the past. It's no, reflect. It's okay. It's okay to, you're allowed to think about the past. You don't only have to think about the present to the extent that it serves what you want and where you're going. So it's forward oriented. I think that's one. And staying present to the moment it can be challenging, right? Because then we have to get out of that old pattern. But why? But I need to know the answer. But I need to know, right? The example that Michelle gave from her client. Like, I need to know why I got fired. Like, well, what's that serving? What's that investigating serving? That's living in the past. That's not serving the present.
And I think that's why having like people like the three of us, right? Call it a life coach or somebody that can guide you, a mentor, someone who can support, even a good friend. But like full blown like life coach who does this on the regular and can look for things to help you get out of it is so important, because I believe that like the human experience within that, like we have to have moments of suck and of pain and of like stress and challenges. I think that's an important piece. But I think how we navigate our way into and out of them and through them, doing that with some outside support that is, I don't want to say goalless, but I kind of mean goalless. Like the mission isn't to take you anywhere other than where you choose to go for yourself for the best and highest good. Meaning if you're stuck in victimhood and you don't want to be stuck in that spot where you don't have choices in your life anymore, that's where people like us would come in and help them navigate their way out of it. But also understand that like, okay, you need to be mad right now. Let's just go ahead. Let's do that. It's a safe space. You get to.
That's
And
right.
also, if you want to do this for 3 weeks in a row, well, I'm not serving you and you need a different coach.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think we are taking them somewhere, right?
Yeah,
We're taking
100%.
them to a place of authenticity, an honest place, right? We're calling them out on their bullshit.
Yeah. And giving them a different perspective, or several different perspectives that then they get to choose. Because I think there's no greater way to, somebody who's already feeling like they don't have any power to dictate to them what it has to look like doesn't really help them feel like they have power anymore. Like, that doesn't take them anywhere, So when I say goalless, I just mean like there's no ulterior motive. The mission is to simply hold space and be the guide and catalyst for you to find you. Like, but the real you, not the one that wants to stay stuck in the discomfort because it's the enemy that you know and it feels better.
Mhm.
But it only feels better because you don't know what it feels like on the other side. That's what I've learned over the years is like, yeah, it did feel better there until I got out of there and found out what it felt like on the other side. And I don't want to live there anymore because it doesn't actually feel better. But you don't know that unless you actually get that experience for yourself.
Mhm.
I wonder how much of what we're tied to is the overall cultural thought. Like if the work isn't hard, then it's not worth it. So we end up unintentionally putting ourselves in difficult places just so we can feel like we're doing something important.
Yeah, like this idea of and some of it is true, right? Like good things are worth fighting for. The idea of struggle, of winning something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's like the hunter, wiring from many, many thousands of years ago of coming home with a thing and it's hard won and you sling it over your shoulder and you feed your family. Yeah.
No.
I think another layer to that, and this is a less popular opinion probably, but that is that victimhood gives us something. It gives us support. It gives us a scapegoat. It gives us a white knight possibility. It gives us a lot
Gives
of
us
shit.
a sense of importance to have our struggle. Like, this is why I am where I am because this is all out to get me. all this is stacked against me and I'm fighting it really hard. So it makes me really just, whoo, I'm important
I
because
mean,
I've got all
mixed,
these ailments and I've got all these challenges and these troubles. And look how important I am because I'm fighting them.
it makes for a great story, right? Like
Yeah.
makes this whole classic, it's fiction maybe, but makes for a good story.
Yup. So there's always something in the way that I've found that. So if I'm going to take like my approach, what I've started to do quite often lately is a lot of saboteur work, and it's giving that saboteur voice a body, a name, a face, whatever it is. So a lot of people, it's parents, dad, mom, grandparents, siblings. Like I know there's been a few times where is it like an older brother that used to bully or whatever. Or in my own personal case, it's my inner adolescent. So I gave it a voice and made it real. And it's hilarious how many times whenever I do this visualization with groups that I've been doing on a regular basis lately, and I have them make that real, and they then go in and visualize it as if where they were there in front of this voice. And how many people are like, "Oh yeah, it's time to go to war. Let's fight. Let's battle. Woo, we're gonna get it on. I am gonna conquer you. I'm gonna." So I went to a conference here a couple of weekends ago, and this guy said, "Yeah, I did a visualization where I found my inner bully, and I made him walk the plank. But you know what? Unfortunately, I just know he's a really good swimmer, so I know he'll be back." And I am now, after hearing so many times, hearing that idea of I'm going to war with myself. I am going to fight myself. I am going to conquer this piece of myself, destroy it, kill it, snap it off, whatever it is. I'm going to war with that idea because it drives me fucking crazy. Whenever I take people through that visualization, all of a sudden I want you to, I take people and I say, hey, guess what? That voice in you has been trying to protect you this whole time. It is a misguided helper that was born of something that happened that it was protecting you from then. And now, because it was so valuable then, it is stuck on for years. And guess what? It doesn't serve anymore. But you can go in there and thank this voice because it's been trying to protect you all along. And that brings up so much emotion every time I do this exercise that people quit trying to fight it and they accept that peace as a part of themselves and then let that peace know I've got it under control. We're good. We're solid. I'm the adult now, and you're still welcome in my life. You are still welcome to have your voice here because I realize you're out to help me, not to try and hurt me. You're not a devil. You're a protector. Just misguided, and I've got it under control. Thanks. That is enough to release that battle, to release that striving, that straining, that fighting that happens within us. And now all of a sudden we can just let it go and start to move towards what we actually want rather than fighting a battle that just doesn't need to be even fought.
Yeah, I don't think healing is, so your words are saboteur and inner adolescent, and I see that. I do that similar things, have people go into meditation and make friends, basically make peace. But I don't
Yes.
think healing is killing those bits of ourselves that we don't love. I think healing is loving all of us, and
Yes.
that's it.
Yes. That's exactly what
Absolutely.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That's it. That's, the asshole work, the framework that I work with. It's same idea of, the saboteurs. We're not going hunting, and taking out these animals or taking out, the saboteurs.
So, for
They're
somebody who hasn't heard this reference, this framework before, say more. Like, say more about that
it's
framework so we understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a framework around emotional intelligence, and it's really centered. It started with looking at toxicity in the workplace and what bad behavior at work costs us, what it costs us as individual humans, employees, and or whole organizations. And it gets very, very expensive on both sides, from a company, how it can compete, how effective it can be, its viability, whether it will exist. And for an individual, it's how they view themselves, what they bring home to their family, to their friends. It's their career track. It's like the no promotions or acceleration, elevation. It's their physical health, mental health. So it costs us a lot. And what I did is I took like 25 years of battles and bruises and scars from adventures in the corporate world, startups through Fortune 100, and came up with a framework that's fun and easy and intergenerationally friendly and cross-culturally friendly. And it's 5 animals. They're 5 asshole archetypes that embody different, they're symptomatic, right? It starts with symptoms of each animal and in how all the different ways that we might get in our own way that hurt us and hurt others that we work with or others that we are in relationship with, and how we can, I call it over and under index on the gradient of each animal. And the punchline is most of us are assholes at some point. And the idea is also that each of these archetypes we want to keep. We're going to make friends with the pets, with the animals. We're not looking to go hunting and hang their heads on a wall somewhere. And so part of it is understanding what it is. That's the cost of that behavior. What is the payoff of each behavior? What is needed to make each feel safe? And then starting to bridge, and then starting to connect and serve and build trust. So that's a very broad idea of it, but it's this idea of whether it is a saboteur, whether we are, visualizing and meditating, whether we have the animal framework, it's accepting the voices, it's accepting all of it and understanding that it's all, the intentions are good. It's in our service usually. And it's a thank you, right? What's that?
You said something in that is so powerful, and that goes back to my point about goalless. You said, what do they need to feel safe?
I picked up on that too.
What if we know what we need to feel safe, and then also can have an understanding and compassion that everyone else has their own version of what they need to feel safe? And that's what I meant when I said goalless. I'm not in there trying to dictate to you what makes you feel safe or what would be for your best and highest good. I'm there in my own safe space, creating a safe space so that you can dance and get creative and be playful in figuring out, learning, and uncovering what makes you feel safe. And if we get down to it, if we feel safe, that's when we can show up from compassion, because our defenses aren't, you know what I mean? It's like there's a softness that can happen there, but in that softness is our ultimate power, which I believe is just our authentic self. It's love for ourselves, love for others, and we get to show up from that place. And if we could do more of that and have an uncovering of what makes the shadow self feel safe.
Yeah.
And shadow self isn't going to have the hackles up flipping porcupine quills at everybody.
That's right. And by the way, porcupine
is one of the animals.
5 animals. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then porcupine exhibits behaviors that are push away behaviors.
Yeah. But that's such a beautiful, like in a nutshell, way of describing what's required for us all to just get along, including with ourselves, I guess.
Absolutely.
I mean, really, do you feel safe? If that answer is no, you're never showing up for your best and highest self.
100%. And that's
what's
exactly
funny
part of
is, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, Lynn. Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying that that's part of the question about safety is there's a series of questions that we ask as part of this framework and the approach. And the questions are pointing at ourselves first. What do I need to feel safe? What is the payoff? What's the cost of a behavior that I'm choosing right now? There's always a payoff and there's always a cost. And once we have a little bit of introspection, it's asking that question about the other party to understand that, right? There's a gap. There's what's happening, and then there's safety. And something is not there. What isn't there? That's the bridge that we need to build. And that works for collaboration, on a big project, that works in a marriage, it works in parenting. It's human to human connections of that psychological safety. And what that really encourages us to do is to pick up the lens of curiosity. That's what it then allows us to do. When we start to ask these questions and we start to drop into that space, we really put aside judgment and preconceived notions, and we pick up the lens of curiosity. And that's where it really starts to get beautiful.
So one of the biggest pieces about safety is safety doesn't actually exist. It's an illusion. It's the story that we tell ourselves. It's perception, right? I know of people that have been through the utter absolute shit and come out the other side of it, and they are 100% okay in whatever environment they're in because they know whatever they do, they're going to be okay. On the other end of the scale, I see people that have been sheltered their whole life and they don't feel safe anywhere because they've never been through any kind of challenges and never had to overcome anything. And their perception of what it takes to be safe is a whole nother world. And so, Alina, you mentioned it. It's like, what do I need to do to understand what they need to be safe? Because if we want this social interaction, what I need to feel safe is completely different than what other people need to feel safe. So it's like, if we're going to create that safety so we can have conversations, it doesn't matter what I believe whatsoever. And I'm bringing this up because I'm fighting this particular battle right now when it comes to building my business. And teacher just told me the other day, he said, hey, guess what? Your gift is also your curse. You go too deep too fast and you scare the shit out of people. I was like, oh, well, you asshole, you're right. And like, I don't want to go shallow. I don't want to make people feel safe. I want to challenge them and drag them out of their comfort zone. And like, you're going to grow whether you fucking like it or not. And instead of attracting people to me, I'm freaking people out and I just drive them away instead. So like, so I'm fighting this very battle right now. It's like, okay, what do I need to do to make other people feel safe? Because actually, I've been through so damn much. There's not a whole lot that scares me.
Yeah. Well, it ain't about you, is it?
It ain't about me at all. I tell you what.
I was about to get into the accent, but I know it would be so bad. And I don't want it on record.
I mean, you can do it in Russian.
It's not about you, Lee. Don't you understand this?
What you talking about, little lady?
It's about the client. You look at the client and you're the client. What do you want? What do you need?
Or the employee or the boss. Like, I've scared a whole lot of bosses. So like, it's about the spouse, it's about the children.
Yeah.
You know how you make someone feel safe no matter where they go? You teach them how to build self-trust.
Yes.
Because that's what you were saying. The person who's been through everything, you know why they feel safe in every room? Because they know that no matter what happens, they'll figure it out. The person who's been sheltered the whole life and hasn't built tools and skills and developed the resources to know what to do in an instant, they don't feel safe anywhere because they need to rely on other people and they know they don't actually have control over other people. So they're at the mercy of others. So how do we feel safe? We build skills to trust ourselves. And I feel like some of the deepest work that I do is the trauma healing stuff. It's like, you don't feel safe in a space if your brain is telling you you're not safe everywhere you go because of A, B, or C that's happened. So how do we get our internal like mindset right? And like Alina and I talked about, when we recorded not that long ago, we take it from that mindset of the loop that's lying to us and we bring it into our heart that can't. It's a different thing. So it's like, I believe there is safety, but I don't believe the safety is in the external world. I believe it's in our internal world. And we have to develop that and we have to build that and we get to help people do that. And that is like one of the most honored. Like it is such an honor. And it's one of the most incredible things you can do in the world is to help someone else build a vacation-esque sanctuary in their being so that the world doesn't feel so goddamn prickly all the time.
Mhm.
It's amazing.
That's
If
beautiful.
the world is full of thorns. You want to cover the world in leather? You want to cover your own feet?
Just went a whole
I love it. I talk about the oily, like make like a penguin and have like an oily coating so that the water doesn't seep in. You just get in and out of the icy water and enjoy. If I had sound effects available to me, I would push a button that plays Faith by George Michael, just that part, because you got to have faith. Because you've got to have faith in yourself. Like you won't have the answers. You won't know what to do. That's life. You will be thrown into situations if you choose to leave your bed that you will have no idea what to do. And you've just got to have faith that you'll figure it out. And if you don't, okay, then you'll learn something. And in the end, it'll be okay.
And figuring it out sometimes means you phone a friend because you're not the one who's supposed to, who has the skills to get you out of whatever mess you're in right now.
That
But
is.
someone you know does.
I so appreciate that you say this, because this is a lesson that I continue to learn over and over and over. Of part of you figuring it out is understanding who can help you along in your journey.
Yeah.
Like getting help is a sign of strength and wisdom.
Yeah.
It is not weakness.
And not expecting some white knight to ride in and save you either, because
That too. That's right.
if you don't actually speak that out loud, then nobody knows to come in and try and help. So you have to literally have to ask for it, because guess what? Everybody else is focused on themselves.
100%. And the lesson I keep on learning, like
Yeah.
ask.
Are you learning it, or is it like being taught and you're just resisting it?
Well, it's being taught in that I'm being paddled by the universe. I'm being paddled because the universe is loving and wants me to learn. And I need a little bit of rough play sometimes to learn my lessons, because a hug and a pat on the head doesn't cut it for me sometimes. Sometimes I need like the medium-sized paddle, and the universe kind of spanks me with it. And then I say, oh, I felt that on my left cheek. Thank you. I think I'm going to go ahead and, then I'm clearer on, all right, this is what I'm going to do. 2 thumbs up.
I'm more along the lines of, oh, you tell me I need to do it that way, eh? Well, hold my beer, watch this. I'll show you how to do it the other way.
Like rebel for the sake of being different.
Just for the freaking sake of it. Yep.
That's the adolescent showing up.
Exactly. Oh, good catch. Good catch.
Right?
Yeah.
You say no? Yes. I can't go to the party? I'm going to sneak out the window in the back.
Mm-hmm.
That had to be fun. Like having a window to sneak out the back. Like I live too high up. I always lived in apartment buildings. So I always used to think that'd be so fun. They always show in the movies,
You didn't have like the fun fire escape off the side where you get to climb all those stairs or slide down a pole or something?
No, nothing poetic like that. Slide down. Oh, that's a different movie. But no, I had neither of those. I
I
know.
was just looking for access points to throw a rope ladder down. I don't know.
Speaking of
Fire ladder.
right, like throwing a ladder down.
Rope ladder reminds me of one of my favorite early trysts. But like that's a story for another day.
What I was saying before the tryst story is I think about the rope ladders that we throw ourselves. Like the white flag that we kind of wave in the air and we're like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready for help. Tired of floundering. hungry and tired, and I want something better and easier.
Yep. Which reminds me of a little bit about what you brought up earlier. I started to write this on the board, but I think I was scaring Christina. So you want to know what that was all about?
I do. I saw you starting to jot something down, and you looked like you really wanted to talk about it, and then you
I
kind of
know.
stopped midway through.
Well, I noticed that Christina didn't want to be outshined, so I just laid back and I figured we could talk about it now. So this is my favorite time management course. Can you tell?
Yes.
So this is our time. It's a vessel that holds the things that we do, right? We never get in more time, we never have less.
Yep.
So we have to choose what goes in that time. So it's a vessel. For some reason, I use bucket analogies all the time because I have my stress bucket analogy too. Well, this is my time bucket. And around it, we've got I'll get it, watch it. Rocks, little bitty pebbles. And we've got water. And then we've got sand. And then we've got big rocks. Big rocks are high priority. Sand and water is the little bullshit that we manage to fill our time with. The unimportant stuff. And a lot of people start with, I have to do all these tasks. And how do I manage all these little bitty tasks? And that's what goes on the bucket first, because it just feels really urgent. So we start to fill up our time bucket with these smaller things, the pebbles, the sand, the water. And all of a sudden we go, oh shit, I don't have any time for the important stuff. And if instead you just start with the big rocks and you focus on those rocks, all the sand, all the water, all the pebbles kind of just flow in around it naturally. And there's not a need to manage the little pebbles, the sand, all that. You manage the big rocks, everything else falls into place.
Yep.
But notice there's not a whole lot of big rocks. One of those big rocks is taking care of the self, taking care of your own personal energy. How are you showing up? Am I doing what it is to light me up, to charge me up, to make sure I show up in a good mood so I can have those conversations worth the shit? And then, for running a business, one of those rocks is trying to make sure we have a large enough list of people to sell to. Managing that is like, I'm finding out the hard way because I've tried to do it other ways. Because watch this. And then obviously there's other stuff we can do, but good Lord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The big rocks thing is absolutely. It's a container every day. That's how every day you get a container.
Mm-hmm. So
and you get to choose what you put in it every day.
I started to learn the hard way, of course, that if I am starting off with trying to force everything, if I sit down to get things done, I shut down, like full shutdown. I'll sit here and nothing happens. And if instead I'm coming at it from a playful mindset, and I don't have a lot that's pressuring me, that I'm not striving or straining, if I'm playing and having fun, way more gets done. I got protein all over my hand. It's all sticky.
That is an invitation for a comment. And maybe not
Don't
yet.
you dare hold that in, Alina. I hear that if you hold those kind of comments in, they spread your hips.
I just want to replay what you just said. I don't know that I need to add much to it.
With the sound effects of the
right. Yeah. I kind of want to make a little clip of that. I think that's one of the sound effects for our show.
Thank you for listening to That's a Great Point with Alina Doran, Michelle Albers, and Lee Smart. To find out more about how we can serve you, check out our links in the show description. Thanks for playing along.